Hello and welcome back to Bombchu Gaming News. My name is Chris, and I'll be covering some of the news from this week that we found interesting. Cyberpunk 2077 has been delayed once again. In a Twitter post with the familiar and now dread-inducing yellow backdrop, CD Projekt Red announced that Cyberpunk would be delayed by another 21 days, with the new release date being December 10th. This announcement comes despite them previously announcing that the game had finally gone gold earlier this month, which usually means that the game is at least mostly finished and ready to be printed onto disc. They hinted that one of the major problems they were faced with was the prospect of preparing so many versions of the game for launch. Between current and next generation platforms, there are 9 different versions that they're currently working on. During an investors call, CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Kaczynski stated, quote, "The game is ready for the PC and runs great on next-gen consoles, and could be shipped on the scheduled date on those platforms. However, even though the game has been certified on the current gens by both Sony and Microsoft, some very final optimization processes for such a massive and complex game require a bit of additional time." End quote. Since he stated that the game has already passed certification, it makes the situation a bit more confusing, as that should mean the game is ready and playable. It's possible that something was missed in the certification process, but we won't know for sure. While fans are obviously upset at the game being delayed for the 3rd time this year, many more are upset at how the developers actually working on the game are possibly being treated. Crunch is a well-known problem in the games industry, and is something that companies like Rockstar have been heavily criticized for recently. Reports have circulated about CD Projekt Red developers facing crunch since as early as 2019 while working on Cyberpunk. Bloomberg News reporter Jason Schreier has said that he's been in touch with over a dozen employees at CD Projekt Red, all of whom have said they faced a lot of mandatory crunch time. Some had reported working 100-hour weeks, while others said that some of their friends were beginning to look physically ill from working too much. Jason Schreier also released an internal company email from studio head Adam Badowski to the developers working on the game. In the email, Badowski apologizes to developers for the added crunch time after the delay to November, and also apologizes to their partners for the team not being home more, but that the end was in sight. However, despite numerous warning signs as well as reports from developers, CD Projekt Red continues to downplay the impact of crunch time on their employees. During the previously mentioned investors call, CEO Adam Kaczynski stated, quote, "Regarding crunch, actually it's not that bad, and it never was. Of course it's a story that's been picked up by the media, and some people have been crunching heavily, but a large part of the team is not crunching at all since they have finished their work." End quote. The following day, however, Kaczynski sent an email to his staff apologizing for his comments, stating, quote, "I had not wanted to comment on crunch, yet I still did, and I did it in a demeaning and harmful way. What I said was not even unfortunate, it was utterly bad." End quote. While his apology could be seen as genuine and that he possibly misspoke when he talked about crunch, it just feels like CD Projekt Red is trying to control the narrative when it comes to the working conditions at the company. The majority of their public statements either deny the existence of or downplay the severity of crunch time at the studio. Meanwhile, they are apologizing to their employees directly for imposing more and more crunch time on them, and acknowledging the impact it's having on them and their families. I'm sure that Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be a fine game when it does come out, and most of us would probably agree that we'd rather see the game get delayed instead of it releasing too early as a buggy mess. However, the amount of crunch time the developers are being subjected to seems highly unreasonable. While some amount of crunch is going to be inevitable when working on such a large-scale project, this amount of crunch going on for this long isn't a healthy working environment, and hopefully, the video game industry can start making changes soon. Halo Infinite project director Chris Lee has stepped down from production on the game. In a statement to Bloomberg News, Lee stated, quote, "I have stepped back from Infinite, and I am looking at future opportunities. I believe in the team and am confident they will deliver a great game, and now is a good time for me to step away." End quote. Chris Lee has worked at 343 Industries since 2008, and Microsoft stated that he continues to be an employee at Microsoft, even though he was stepping away from Halo Infinite. This seems to simply be the latest warning sign that development on Halo Infinite isn't going smoothly. Back in August of last year, creative director Tim Longo and executive producer Mary Olson both left 343 Studios. Halo Infinite was also delayed in August of this year, after fans reacted negatively to a gameplay reveal trailer. Microsoft was hoping to launch Halo Infinite alongside the next-generation Xbox consoles as a flagship title, but the delay has pushed the game's release to sometime in 2021. While Chris Lee still being an employee of Microsoft makes this a slightly less awful-sounding announcement than losing 2 employees from both the project and the company, it still does not paint a pretty picture of Halo Infinite's development. With all of the delays, the lackluster gameplay reveal, and seemingly revolving door of employees, Halo Infinite is looking less and less like something consumers are actually going to be excited to play by the time it finally does come out. And those are the headlines that caught our eye for this week. Make sure you let us know your thoughts on the news in the comments below, and we'll see you again next week. A huge shout out and thank you to Michael Slater, Blake Harms, and all of our other glorious patrons over on Patreon. Your support is what makes shows like this one possible. Thanks for watching.